that we've been reading. I try not. I'm going to take a moment to just note, in general, on the feedback channels, I try not to respond to anything while it's happening. I want to see organic conversation from the viewers. The only time that I will jump in is with a clarification if I feel people are spiraling around something that's just like not true. Like if people are like, well, obviously because the server's set up this way, we can only ever do this. So it's not even worth discussing the alternatives. I might jump in and say, the alternatives are worth discussing. I'm happy to hear both sides or all sides. But like I'm not going to jump in and just be like, yeah, I love this suggestion, or no, I hate this suggestion, unless because that's not really what what those spaces are for. Therefore, soliciting a lot more broad feedback. Okay, so let's see. We had a bunch of people just post in the feedback 10th word chat, like moments before this went live, which is one of the reasons that, so that might not be factored in yet to what we're talking about, although it looks like those people are here and can make their points in person later when we get there. Let's pull up the meeting agenda here. Next quarter meeting agenda. Okay, so first thing that we formally had on the agenda, Tommy, if we're looking at the same one here, the one from August 20th.
Yes, the first one we have is the YouTube channel memberships.
Okay, I think that these have been a success so far. We've had, I just got an update from YouTube. 45 people have signed up on their own. And then we've had another 40 or 50 gift subs. That I think is enough for me to start doing some test streams with that. I'm probably likely to also screen share those in the Discord. The primary thing with that is there are certain types of streams where I don't necessarily want them to be public. For example, if I'm doing a programming stream, I don't want random drive-by AI bots scraping my code. I also don't, in the off chance that I accidentally show something in the wrong tab or something like that, that's more likely to happen in a programming stream than it is in a Minecraft stream. Having a smaller audience of only people who are paying to be there seems good to me. So I'm probably going to primarily start these programming streams with website-related projects. Let's see. Oh yeah, I've also just, for those of you who are watching my screen share, this is live from Hermitcraft. I am actively letting these snowmen roam from last night, so that when we record an outro to that video, it will look a lot better, because that was we got a good start to that, but that's not done. Okay. That's not my primary focus for right now. I might just occasionally be hopping in the bed. So YouTube channel memberships seem good to me so far. I've got some progress on doing the emotes. We have, I think we've got 2 unused slots right now. We've been getting some great feedback from the feedback emoji channel. I'm feeling like we have a good direction for all this and we're on track. But if anybody has questions or concerns, now is a great time to raise them. So I'm opening the floor to anything about the YouTube channel memberships. Okay, I'm going to take that as an endorsement of the idea that we are generally on track, that nobody has jumped in. Let me check the meeting discussion text. Kindle says you should charge more for the YouTube memberships. They only let me set, so once you get enough members, you can unlock additional tiers. And they only let me set one price point when I started. So I wanted to start with the lowest price point, because otherwise I would never get enough members to unlock more tiers, if that makes any sense. So, because if eventually we want to have like a $2 price point, a $5 price point, and a $20 price point, if I started with 20, we would never get the number of members required to unlock adding 2. So there is a plan. I originally was going to launch with 3 tiers, and it wasn't until I got into the interface to set it up that it's like, oh, I can only do 1 right now. So that is the long-term plan. The tiers are not going to really have too much of a difference between them. Um, it would just be basically you want to support more, because in general, most of what I do in terms, I try to avoid segregating the community by class. I appreciate that everyone here is in a different point in their lives financially, and folks who are supporting the show are trying to make what I do available to everybody. And so, the rewards are generally going to be unlocking things for everybody. Um, you know, let's see. Our next is it well, okay. Does anybody else have anything to reply now that we've started talking about the tier thing? I see Moonrose is typing. And Tommy, have you seen any feedback about any of this that you think needs to be raised that was critical of what we're doing in general?
No, I haven't seen anything like that.
And I was super dubious about setting this up. And I went to the community and I asked, like, should I consider this? And you all said, yeah, give it a try. I have been shocked at how fun it was to make the emotes and how easy it was to use. Like, um, I'm almost every time I do something like this, it blows up in my face somehow. And this has just been really nice. So that's been good. Um, it's been a fun little extra thing. And it's gonna, especially over October, when I want to do some website programming streams, we're building out the website more. That's gonna be good to have. Moonrosa says, I don't imagine there would be YouTube only streams that would be Discord community pertinent that wouldn't be streamed on Discord. No, anything that I would be doing on the YouTube, I would also be screen sharing to Discord. The idea is that we want to kind of gate certain types of stuff, like code that I'm writing as I'm writing it, behind, like, we don't want random drive-by bots in public scraping it. But I'm not trying to nickel and dime you guys. Would these type of quarter meetings be on the YouTube instead of on the Discord? Well, here's the thing. For right now, they're staying on Discord. If that YouTube thing would be a fallback if something happened to Discord. For example, if Facebook bought Discord and all of a sudden trashed it, we don't. That's the other nice thing about this YouTube thing, is it gives us a life raft for these sorts of events. If the SS Titanic Discord smashed into a Facebook iceberg, which I don't think is likely to happen, but I do think it is good to have lifeboats in general. Even though you never plan on sinking a ship, you should be prepared just in case something does happen. So yeah, that would be the only scenario where we would be moving all this to YouTube. Lakshmi13 says, I heard you're planning craft streams along with the programming streams. Is that accurate? Because I'd be interested in the craft streams, but not the programming. I am trying to figure out what makes sense for that. Because there are certain types of craft streams that would be more... You know how B-Dubs does the building streams where it's very quiet and he only talks occasionally? There are certain types of craft streams that might be more high focus, less chatty, where if I was like, I don't know if I could do a good show the way I normally try to do a good show while I'm doing a craft that requires this level of focus, those high focus streams, also maybe more dangerous craft streams where I don't want to risk being distracted by having to moderate, because I'm less likely to have, like, if I was doing, in the long term, once we start getting power tools and stuff, we're talking about trying to figure out a real workshop studio in the next few years. If I'm going to be running a bunch of, like, electric saws, those might be the sorts of streams that are going to be paid viewer only, because I'm less likely to have to, rush over and deal with, like, a bunch of random racist bullshit in the chat, So those so basically programming streams, it's because I don't want them scraped, and certain types of craft streams where it would be such a different thing from the craft streams people are used to that I'd like to kind of keep it its own thing. Um Lakshmi13 says, could you let us know if you're planning something like that so we can join membership before the stream, like actually advertise it? Well, Lakshmi, you would already have access through the Discord. But yeah, I would plan on advertising that. But yeah, if I would be, in general, the plan is anything that I would be doing as a paid only stream, I'm not trying to limit to only YouTube. But some people don't want to use Discord, or some people don't want to use Patreon. So this gives me two options. And this also gives me, once again, that lifeboat scenario where I don't want to get really deep into planning a bunch of paid viewer only streams and then have the platform that I plan to use them on evaporate. The odds of Discord and YouTube evaporating at the same time is way lower, so it's easier to plan, knowing I'm going to try and do both, and if something happens to one, I still have the other. That's my thoughts there. But yeah, we are going to be doing more stream advertisements, kind of like the advertisements I've been making for the Hermit World Tour or for the Badger and Joe stream we had last night, which, by the way, thank you all so much, everybody who came out for that. That was a fantastic time. Lakshmi13 says, but I can watch YouTube on TV, but not Discord. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, in that case, yeah. I mean, yeah. Realistically, Lakshmi13, we are going to be starting these within the next month. So if you want to sign up now, I don't feel like, realistically, within the next 30 days, you will have a craft stream and a programming stream. Probably. Because we're going to be doing both of those the first week of October, and now we're through the first week of September. So, if you're really worried about missing it, I'm nothing stopping you from signing up today. We are going to be getting going on a lot of this stuff October 1st. We're going to be hitting the ground running with this hiatus. That's not really the subject of this particular meeting right now. That'll be the subject of the 8:30 p.m. Central meeting on Monday, tomorrow, with NJ Coffee Junkie. We're going to be, first half of that meeting is about finishing September strong. Second half of that meeting is about how the hiatus is going to kick off. Moon Rosa says, these don't replace typical craft streams. Correct. The Clio craft streams are still going to go the way they go. But, there are certain types of crafts that I don't want to do on the Clio streams because, they're too loud, for example. If I was using a lot of power tools, or if I would have to be muted half the time, right? I don't want to do that as a traditional craft stream. But things that require too much focus for me to talk with Clio, or require too much noise, or have safety elements that would make moderating hard, those would be the focus there. So yeah, the Clio craft streams are one of my favorite things to do every week, and they're not going anywhere. Okay. I think, unless anybody else has anything on this further, Kindle says, no one chopped onions after the stream last night. No, we had eaten dinner earlier. So let's, Tommy, I think it's time to move on to the next thing.
Okay, the next item we have is hiding archived channels via the pipeline of original home to read-only archive to hidden completely 3 months later.
Just to explain what that means for anybody who might have questions, original home means whatever category it's in now, right? So let's say, for example, we have a channel called Feels in the all text category. If we decided that we wanted to get rid of the Feels channel, which is unlikely, but let's say we did, we would initially move it to a read-only archive category that would be visible to the public but not writable. Right now, all of our quote-unquote deleted channels are in read-only archives, where you can't add new text, but you can still search and find them. But people are saying, okay, well, the problem is those categories are fully expanded for new viewers, or I don't notice them because those categories are way at the bottom and I have them all folded up. But we have how many retired room categories? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we have a dozen categories with, between them, about 400 archive channels. So there's a strong incentive to make those channels hidden, which that allows the mod staff later. If we want, let's say we're having a meeting where we're discussing a policy leading up to the next political election, right? We're like, okay, how last time there was a congressional and Senate election on a off year, which would have been like, okay, if we're heading to 2026, it would have been 2022. What was the mood on the server? We can still go back and we can find any channels from 2022 for the purposes of planning and decision making, but that's not going to be just there. Also, one of the benefits of that is, once again, the AI bot scraping apocalypse that's ever encroaching. We don't want somebody to buy a $5 Patreon membership here and necessarily be able to read everything that everyone's ever said on the Discord. And so that will get rid of public facing access to a lot of that. So nobody would have to freak out that a channel that they were just using yesterday was completely gone, because it would be in read-only mode for 3 months, and then it would be moved to a category where it was only visible to the staff. That is the current proposal. I didn't see a lot of people in the feedback text over the last few weeks with major reservations about this. Tommy, was there anything I missed that you saw?
No, I didn't see anything.
It felt like this was a pretty straightforward and reasonable proposal. But anybody who's here who wants to raise concerns now is the time to do it. I see some folks are typing, so I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Am I too far away from these snowmen for them to move? Are they just spinning in place? Wait, really? My plan of keeping these chunks loaded so the snowmen would move has apparently been thwarted. I need to go stand next to them. Thanks, server. Kindle says, I posted a tool for archiving channels offline in this. I was wondering if something like that would be helpful for record keeping. I don't want, personally, to hold on to an archive of everything everyone's ever said here. I feel like that's a liability for me that I don't want to deal with. It's one more thing to worry about. And so I'm disinclined to do that. If there were some sort of sudden shutdown of Discord, I might regret that stance. But I would like to think that even if like Facebook tried to buy Discord, Discord wouldn't shut down or completely reset everything that day. We would have a few weeks notice while we waited for regulatory approval, and we could grab whatever we needed at that point. I see some other folks are typing, so we're going to give them a second. Yeah, it's in our back pocket if we had to flee, but I don't want to keep up with it day to day. Exactly. Mantua Maker says, this is a good idea since you had to delete channels to add different ones during a previous meeting. I mean, here's the thing, though, is we hit the 500 channel cap about 10 months ago. I've just been... the thing is, we've got... the channels that I've been deleting from the archive are things like January 5th Gardic Phone, January 6th Gardic Phone, January 7th D&D, January 8th Gardic Phone. Like, we have a bunch of random event channels that we created over the years, that I've been culling those ones first. And so I'm not too worried about something being lost there in that way. But yeah. Okay. Uh, so the plan is basically I'm gonna just kind of keep deleting little old one-off event channels like that as we add new channels to stay within the 500 channel limit of Discord, and that's fine. It's not a big problem for me. See, MJ is typing. We'll give MJ a second, and then I think we're ready to move on unless this cracks open something new. So yeah, last call for stuff about the archiving channel hiding thing. We're giving MJ a chance to finish, but MJ says, I agree that some of the Minecraft server or even meetup channels might make sense to keep up longer so people can see the vibe for these sorts of things before deciding how much they want to be involved themselves. Or rather than simply hiding them after 3 months, it might make sense to add archiving hiding specific channels to a discussion point in each quarterly meeting. I mean, possibly right now, but here's the problem is we have the ability for me to spend 90 seconds archiving or hiding hundreds of channels, but like, which I could do today. But if I was trying to go through and figure out which events and stuff need to be like, okay, do we need Tennessee game days from 2021, right? Like I'm going through and I'm curating that. That's hours of work, and that's no longer a September task. That becomes a hiatus task. So, is there an argument that I should go ahead and just hide all the ones that we currently have? And if people want to request that I unarchive specific ones, or I make them like, I move them back into the read-only pen temporarily. Like, hey, Tennessee Game Days registration is open. I've temporarily moved these past 5 years channels into here so people can get a sense of the vibe. Like, we just do that case by case as the need arises. I feel like that's gonna be. I don't want to make these decisions now. I want to just knock out hiding 12 categories for people. Yeah, so zone of archive rooms. If I go to edit category here, permissions, everyone, view channels, and I click the X, save changes, that category is now disappeared. Uh, so yeah, staff will be able to view the channels. Okay. So yet another zone of archive rooms. I'm gonna go in here, edit category, permissions, private category. I add members or roles, staff can view the channels. Okay. Save changes. Okay. Yet a second archive category. These names are great. These are my favorite names of everything, obviously. Who can access this category? Only staff. Escape. Save changes. Yesterday's SMP create mod is another one. Make that a private category. Set it so that staff can see it. Done. Save changes. Yesterday's SMP modded. Edit category. Permissions. Private. Add members or roles. Staff can see it. And done. Save the changes. So I think we're through about half of these. Edit category. Permissions. Private category. Staff. Done. Save. Escape. Yesterday's DS9 working group consolidation. Yesterday's season 9 vanilla SMP or Vanillish SMP. Ba, 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 ba. So, are you guys seeing these categories disappear at the bottom as I do them? The categories are losing all but one channel. Which okay, well that's maybe better. But could you post a screenshot of what you're seeing? So it looks like some of those channels might have override. So I need to go to like the movie night availability channel, apparently. And that one's probably got custom settings. Sync now, yeah. Okay, so some of them do not have sync. Feedback structure was in yet another zone of archive rooms. And we're gonna sync that permissions with the category. Okay, and then Vanillish voice. We're gonna sync permissions with the category. VH setup. Basically, it looks like any channel that had custom stuff. Now they're going away. Yeah, I'm working on them now. So the categories should be disappearing as I'm syncing the stuff. DS9 Bahala. Sync now. Zone of archive rooms, movie night availability. So feedback sponsorships, we need to sync. Create setup guide, we need to sync. Tommy, do you mind linking the agenda for Mr. Hardluck while I take care of these? Oh, looks like Kindle's got it. Okay, I think we got all of these. Can y'all confirm that on your end that this is looking good? Is there any that I missed? because those screenshots were very helpful, but I might have missed one. Because I can't see this on my end since they're all visible to me. So it's a whole thing. Was the extra zone category hidden? Should be. Is it not? Extra zone of archive rooms. Edit category. Permissions. Oh, nope, it wasn't. Okay, fixing that now. Save changes. Extra zone and the Vault Hunters categories are both still fully visible. Really? I will fix that. Edit category. Permissions. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna delete these voice channels because those don't have a history anyway. Okay. Okay, so extra zone of archive rooms, we've got 4 left. TBD, Call of Cthulhu. I am sorry about that. Sync. Permissions. Feedback vacation mode. Permissions. Sync. Feedback text only channels. Sync. And feedback Saturday readings. Okay. Call of Cthulhu can still be a thing. I know. It's just something I gotta get to. Okay. So we are 35 minutes into the stream. I thought that would take me 90 seconds to knock that out, but okay. We've at least made progress on it. Looking cleaner already from you guys' end. Okay. So Mr. Harlock says, "Can you ping Queen Dark Lady and I?" Okay. So specific channels to be considered for addition or removal in feedback channels. Now we've got a list of pinned messages there. Okay. Should we just kind of go down the list with these, Tommy? And can you keep track in text of the decision one way or the other?
Yes.
Okay. MJ's Alpaca suggested adding a consume typography category. 3 people thought that was a good idea. 10 people thought that was a bad idea. So, and honestly, I don't think we need it. So I am inclined to say no. Do we need further discussion of this one, guys? Okay. I suggested a create channel spam AI you poisoned, where people can showcase evidence that bad information that they've shared previously on the internet has been absorbed into AI datasets in the wild. Badger Spanner tricked Google into thinking that transport for London was transport for Lauren. and which is pretty good. But maybe we don't need a whole channel for that. It looks like I thought this was a good idea. 12 people thought it was funny, and 14 people think we don't need it. I'm gonna go with, yeah, I guess we probably don't need it. Although we should maybe come back to this as the sort of general attitude we want to put out into the world for the community. So okay. Micro nominated adding a meetup forum to replace creating individual meetup channels. Micro also suggested a feedback forum. Tommy, can we make a list of forum stuff and move that to the end?
Okay, I can do that.
Cool. So I'm going in order that these were suggested here, but then we're kind of tabling some of them until later in the
You are going
conversation.
backwards in order. You're doing the most recent suggestions first.
I'm going through the pinned messages.
Yes, but you're
That's
going
when
through
I
it
click the pins.
backwards.
Yeah. Do you? Okay.
I would
Should
have
I just
started
let you
with the
do this?
Well, not necessarily. I would have started with the first ones from Asteri.
Well, they're at the bottom instead of at the top.
That's just okay. You could scroll to the top and make your way down.
Well,
We've already
I'm at
started
the
going in
top,
this
and
order, so
I clicked pin messages and I'm scrolling down from the top, which is how I read. I usually read. I don't know.
we'll just keep going in this order. It's fine.
Okay. So yeah, meetups forum and feedback forum. We're gonna table for later in this conversation. Micro suggested removing spam sites you webbed. Let's see if we jump to that. 8 people like removing it, and 3 people dislike removing it. I'm gonna say because web development is going to be a main focus during the hiatus, and I'm gonna be going out of my way to encourage people to make their own websites. This is one of those things like having a channel for a game I'm playing, where it makes sense to kind of keep certain stuff that's going to be a focus of the channel, of the as a having a place for people to post that. So I'm gonna say we're gonna keep that one unless y'all have strong reasons now that you'd like to if you'd like to advocate in particular for why that channel needs to go. Like, do we not want people making their own websites? Do we think this is a trend? I think people making their own websites is a trend that's only going to accelerate over the course of the next year. Glass Parkway says, I vote for less channels. Superstone says, update spam servers to include your websites because it barely gets used anyway. Okay. Have spam servers include your website. I mean, that isn't a terrible suggestion. What do you guys think about that? Is the spam servers channel? Yeah, websites are servers. Is that going to dilute the existing spam servers channel in a way that would be unhelpful to the folks trying to promote servers that they're operating? Like Asteri is operating a Cobblemon server. Joju has a thing for talking about SMPs. Fowley has the Podcast Idiot Council server. Like, do you guys feel like this is going to make it harder for people to discover your stuff if other people are posting their websites there? It's probably going to be relatively low traffic anyway. Yeah, like looking at spam sites you web, people there are sharing like their websites. I guess part of the reason I'm cautious about removing it is because I was originally intending on adding it right before I started doing streams where I was working on my website. And those website streams aren't starting until the hiatus now. So it feels like we don't have the data that I was expecting that we would have better data about that by then. Uh, I feel like there's a question of what counts as a server you operate if you're hosting with somebody like Squarespace, though, or I feel like this gets into a huge philosophical side discussion about like the Discord servers you operate. Do you really operate them? I don't know. I feel like I feel like they're such disparate concepts. It doesn't make a ton of sense to merge them, but they do in some ways have overlap. Spam sites and servers. Well, that loses the verb. Spam sites you serve. Uh yeah. But like I don't know if you really is operate the right verb for a Squarespace site. Do we need to change the name of spam servers you operate if we're going to merge them? Should we like I feel like should we merge it with streams? Moonroses suggests. I feel like streams people are more likely to post a lot of updates. I feel like people post streams like when they go live, not just like, hey, I've got a channel for streaming. And there's also the idea if somebody posts a blog post, like if somebody redesigns their website or launches a new website, they would post it to the spam servers or spam sites channel. But if they wrote a blog post about something, they would spam it to spam. They would put it in spam things you wrote. So, so I think we keep spam streams separate. But okay, so if we are going to create a new what's the name for the read-only category? We need to create the new read-only category now. How do I do that? Create category. Y'all read only now, you hear? Create category. And we're going to set that category up to be read-only permissions. View channels, text channel permissions, send messages. No. Send messages and threads, create threads, create private threads, embed links, attach files, add reactions, use external emoji, use external stickers, mention people. Read message history, yes. Because that's... Okay. So we now have a read-only channel. And so if I want to move... So, okay, so we are going to modify... so yeah, Tommy, for our changelog here, for spam servers you operate, we are modifying the description, the channel topic to let folks know if you run a server they can visit or join you on. Maybe let's change website or server they can. Okay. Promoting things you don't operate is out of scope for this channel. Thanks. Yes. Okay. So spam servers you operate is going to absorb the spam sites you web functionality, and the spam sites you web channel is going to go in the read-only archive. Assuming that I can scroll down that far. It won't let me. How do I collapse this meeting here? I can't drag it past the meeting. 1 second. Spam sites you web. I don't know why it doesn't let you use the scroll wheel. Okay, sync permissions with y'all read only now, you hear? Okay, can you guys see that in y'all read only now, you hear? And tell me if you can type in there, please. You can see it but not type. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next one. Not Lady Oolong says add games multiplayer meetup and nominates removing games players wanted and friend codes. I feel like deleting the existing friend codes channel will be unhelpful, and I don't want to remove it. And I feel like players wanted being its own channel is also valuable for a community of this size and scale. And if we're going to keep both of them, I don't know that Lady Oolong necessarily would want us to consider adding the other one. When we look at the feedback on removing players wanted and removing friend codes, more people. I'm actually surprised. 11 people wanted to remove friend codes, and 5 people wanted to keep it. But I'm not sure. Also, if the people who want to remove channels are the ones who are in the feedback channels thing, is this skewed? It it feels intuitively bad to me to remove the friend codes channel. Because that's the idea is you put it in once and then you don't have to do it again. So asking everybody who ever posted their friend code to do it again seems like a thing. Kindle says friend codes that are very specific shouldn't be merged with something else, because then people would have to repost, to edit, to add tags. Yeah, it feels like removing channels for the sake of making number go down rather than actually benefiting people. Tommy, have you heard specific reasons that we would want to remove the friend codes thing from the broader community?
Not specifically. From what I can infer, the people voting yes to removing friend codes and players wanted are also in favor of the multiplayer meetup channel.
So it's more that they just want to see this merged,
Yeah,
and not necessarily that they like the idea of removing the friend codes or the
right.
players wanted. From an information sorting standpoint, like as a database guy, the idea of mingling those two things seems like viscerally like I can tell that my stress level is increasing and I'm going to have a harder time digesting food. Like it feels bad, man. And I I'm going to go with I'm literally going with my gut here. Just the idea of merging those two doesn't feel correct. And this is we're gonna chalk this one up to there is going to be some Joe Hills flavor to a Joe Hills Discord. Other people might run their Discord other ways, but like Joe's gut says keep these two separate. Because it's not my background in information structure is it just I can't verbalize it, but it feels so wrong to try to combine those two things. Like having a standalone place for friend codes makes sense. And I don't think removing the players wanted board is good for the community either. So we're just gonna leave both of those, and we are going to not add the multiplayer meetup because we're not removing the other two. And it would be trollish to add it at this point, which we're not here to do. So, okay. Let's see. Moving down further, Lady Oolong suggests removing consume public domain. I was on the fence about that one anyway. I wasn't sure about it, and when we added it, I was kind of considering it in my head as on probation. 10 people voted to remove it. 2 people voted to not remove it. I say we pull it. It was an experiment and it goes in the read only thing. Anybody want to express any last minute arguments against removing it? Centortron says anything specific coming into the public domain can just be posted in their respective channels. Yeah. You know, we have book channels, we have film, television channels. Yeah. Okay. Kindless, I believe, is the one who proposed this in the first place. I'll give Kindless a chance to. We also have the public domain works channel. Well, no, that's what we're. Do we have 2 public domain channels? We have consume public domain works. Yeah, that's the one we're talking about. We don't have 2 public domain channels. We have 1 public domain channel. It's just called public domain works. It looks like Lady Oolong was talking about public domain works. So, yeah. So Lady Oolong mislabeled this, but we're going to assume that we know what she meant. And I'm going to move public domain works to the read-only category, please, Tommy. Which is going to require dragging this down several things here. Okay, public domain works down to... I wish that this thing was better about letting me drag things. There we go. Sync permissions with y'all read only now, you hear? Okay. So Tommy, you got that as archived?
Yes, I've got it.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead then and continuing down the list here. 1 second. Feedback channels, pinned messages. I'm gonna, you know what I should be doing is I should be unpinning these as we deal with them. So I'm unpinning spam sites you web, unpinning multiplayer meetup, unpinning player wanted, unpinning friend codes, unpinning public domain. And now we are on remove HCTCG webcam games, HCTCG meetups, HCTCG deck building, and HCTCG collecting. Everybody is broadly in favor of removing these. There's nobody who voted against this. Does anybody... I was assuming that we would have a resurgence of Hermitcraft TCG stuff in the future, but I can't say why. So I guess we should just remove this stuff. I'm worried it's going to be one of those things like when we removed the Pokemon channel a month before Pokemon came out, though. So Um, like, are people gonna be mad if we add these back in out of cycle? If there was a reason to add these back out of cycle? Or are we committing to going 3 months no matter what? Because that's kind of what we're saying. Because I kind of thought this would be a settled issue by now, but sometimes timelines are out of my control. Lakshmi13 says our comments are useless without all the info. Kindle says maybe postpone it to next meeting. Yeah, so that's the thing is would we yeah. Yeah. Because it looks like there's a huge, like I said, literally nobody was in favor of keeping these in the thumbs up, thumbs down. Kindle says, "Well, we have to trust you to know stuff we can't." Yeah, but the thing is, though, even if stuff happened, well, I mean, there's also the chance that whatever delays may or may not be delaying things now might delay things another 4 months anyway. Or so the thing is, I don't know things too because they're out of my hands. So so it looks like the idea is if we just basically it looks like the suggestion is remove everything but HCTCG general. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna suggest we keep HCTCG deck building and general, and I'm gonna archive the other 3. I feel like that's a good compromise. Well, let's see though. While I was thinking about that, you guys have said multiple things. Moon Roses says, from our POV, the HCTCG is a game that only needs to be discussed occasionally and therefore only needs one channel. Kindlelist says, I think the TCG is part of the Hermitcraft brand and it needs a space. Yeah, but this isn't a Hermitcraft server. So maybe we don't need to be given a bunch of oxygen to, you know, Hermitcraft. Have I signed TCG cards in the past? Yes, I have. But like I feel like realistically if people weren't using the HCTCG meetups thing to talk about Dragon Con or PAX, yeah, this HCTCG meetups thing hasn't been touched in really like a year and a half. And the webcam games, nobody's playing webcam games. Collecting and deck building are still being used. You know what? We're going to get rid of the meetups and webcam games, but we're going to keep collecting and deck building. And we're going to keep general. So, Tommy, don't mention in the minutes anything about upcoming releases, please. But it's because those cannot be confirmed.
I'm just marking what
But
channels are archived or not. I'm not mentioning anything else.
yeah. So we are gonna archive meetups and webcam games, and we're gonna keep collecting and deck building because
In
deck
general.
building is more about strategy,
Yeah.
and collecting is more about putting things that you want in your house.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and move 2 of those to y'all read only now, you hear? Why is this scrolling thing here on the... Like, I am screaming externally. This is the single worst interface. Like, moving stuff between categories is terrible. Sync permissions. Sync permissions. Yeah, so we have removed half of the 4 that were requested. And the other 2 are read-only. Honestly, I don't imagine if the other 2 weren't hit really hard in the last round of TCG stuff, they would be hit really hard anytime soon. Anyway, so yeah, there we go. So returning now to the pins in the Joe Hill's meta feedback channel. Bum, bum, bum. We are gonna remove all 4 of those TCG pins so that we can get to Centauratron's suggestion of remove news and current events gun crimes. I see 13 people thumbs this up. Well, one of them was me, just to make sure that there was a thumbs up icon there. So 12 people say remove it, 3 people thumbs down removing it. I feel like some people want to mute this very specific things. Gun crimes are a very specific type of violence that we need to be able... Moderators need to be able to move certain conversations into places that are mutable like that. At the time Centauratron nominated it, it didn't have a lot in there, but there have been gun crimes since that were discussed there, and I felt like everybody did a good job of being mature about it when we had to kind of shepherd people into that channel. Kindle says, I don't want to discuss gun crimes in any other channel. I need certain number of spoons to talk about it. This is me, server owner's prerogative. From a moderation standpoint, I feel like the certain people have to mute certain things, and I want to respect that. Tommy, as community liaison, though, I should maybe be asking you, what's your vibe on that? What do you feel? What are you hearing?
My original vote for that was to remove the channel because I was in favor of the community members who wanted to remove channels sooner than add them. There's no real reason to add a channel here for something else. We already have the channel, so I don't think there's any harm in keeping it, especially if people are more in favor of having it than removing it. And if it's from a moderation standpoint, I also do agree that having a specific channel for it is more beneficial.
Okay, so yeah, we are going to keep gun crimes channel. Okay. Asteri suggested removing V Rising as a game. So that channel was added initially. So we have a policy from a long time ago. Any game that I'm streaming multiple times a month automatically would get a channel. But we don't have a policy where if I stop streaming it multiple times a month, we remove it. So yeah, now that I'm not streaming that multiple times a month anymore, it feels like I should just take that down. What do you guys think? The only thing that gives me pause about taking it down is Badger and I are actually likely to start playing it again during the hiatus. And so it's kind of one of those, like, we waited so long to consider removing it. I'm going to end up re-adding it again. Kindle says, new policy, when you're done streaming a game, archive it. Yeah. If I have active plans to stream it during the hiatus, I say keep it. We can revisit it next meeting. Yeah. Having a removal policy is a good thing to have. Yeah. Let's say basically every as a standing thing during a quarterly meeting, we review games I'm no longer playing and pull them, right? So let's say by the time we have our next meeting here, if the hiatus is over by then and I'm done playing V Rising again, we just take it down, right? When you're done, just remove it. No discussion, just remove. The problem with no discussion, just remove is I'll forget to do it. Is kind of my thought. But yeah. So we'll remind you. Yeah, you probably will. You know what? Let's go ahead and until Badger and I actually stream it, I am just gonna move it to read only. Like, because honestly, we have it. It's like on a list of like 6 games we want to stream together, and we might not get to it. So maybe. Okay, so let's also. I'm not currently playing Satisfactory or UFO 50 on stream anymore. So let's go ahead and remove those two. I don't know if they were nominated or not, Tommy, but this is basically per that policy they got added in the first place.
Satisfactory and what
Yeah,
other
that's the
one?
thing is we have tentative plans, MJ. We don't have active plans. They were nominated? Okay. Well, okay. I'm going to move UFO 50 down here. Oh, come on. Why is Discord the absolute worst? Okay. Removing archiving UFO 50, archiving V Rising, archiving Satisfactory. Honestly, V Rising is also a horror game to some degree, so we could just talk about it there. And a lot of the games we are likely to play this October are horror games, so actually just having that horror game catch-all channel might alleviate the need to even create some of those new ones. Okay, so so yeah, I'm gonna go down here. I'm gonna remove the pinned things for UFO 50 and Satisfactory as well. Okay. So let's see. Nominate, remove hands-on technology, web design, and dev. I I see that is not very popular to keep, but because I'm literally about to start doing web design and dev streams, that's kind of follow the same like activity rule where I'm gonna keep it. Um, that's staying because that's part of what we just launched this YouTube channel membership thing partially so we can do web design and dev streams, and I think that's gonna provoke more discussion and consideration of that stuff in the future. Um, so the programming, hosting, and hardware also all tie into that. Basically, the idea was to do more technology streams with a self-hosting emphasis. When I initially put this on, I thought there was a non-zero chance when I initially added these last quarter. There was a non-zero chance the Hermitcraft hiatus might be between that meeting and this meeting. I added these for the hiatus, not knowing if it was going to hit soon or later. And now that it's hitting, I'm inclined to keep them because the reasons that I added them for the hiatus are still valid to me. If they're, I'm completely happy to revisit removing them after the hiatus, but they're not going to be removed now. So we're gonna. Okay. So, let's see. Somehow I got out of order here. Remove news cybersecurity. from Asteri. That was a tie vote. The thing about cybersecurity is it's such a niche topic. I think it benefits from having a mutable space. Um, and with it being a 50-50 vote, I'm gonna keep it. Remove news sports. I mean, I understand that not everybody here cares deeply about sports, but there are certain times of year where sports is Lakshmi 13 says doesn't niche stuff go in catch all. Not if it would over. So the thing is, occasionally there's big days for sports and there's big days for cybersecurity. There are certain things that have like a sawtooth pattern to them. And if we know that they're going to repeatedly break the catch-all channel and make the catch-all channel unusable at certain times of year, it's one of those fool in a shower things where adding and removing the channels every time the demand goes up and down, like it's just better to leave them. Kindle says sports has been used to we're supposed to discuss news about sports things, not sports results. Instead, it has been used to discuss results. I mean, there's a lot of really screwed up stuff happening with the World Cup host cities, and I know there hasn't been a lot of discussion of it here yet, but like I don't know. I'm inclined, knowing that we've got 2026 Winter Olympics coming up and we've got a bunch of World Cup nonsense with like corruption and things going on. I feel like we keep sports. Why not have it in games so we can have news and results? I It's more the current events element. Is it worth the moderation time to keep the original focus or expand the focus? I kind of feel like the way things are going culturally, there's naturally going to be an ebb and like there's going to be an ebb and flow to this, and I feel like within the next 3 months we're going to see a lot of this sort of thing, and it's going to naturally fill that channel. Um, so I'm inclined to keep it. So, okay, so that is all of the stuff that's not forum related. Micro has kind of two things that are the same general thing. Remove all current events as a category and move it to a forum. Okay, so now that we're done talking about kind of individual channels, we tabled the forum stuff. How much is it worth us spinning up some PHP based forums, and with the long-term intention of moving over the most sensitive topics and the most technical topics to a self-hosted forum, so that we don't have to worry about Discord harvesting what people's sentiment is about public current events or things like that. I've been thinking in the long term, us having a forum that's already set up that everybody gets sent an invite to at the same time they get their Discord invite would be a good parallel structure to have ready as a lifeboat if Discord does hit an iceberg at some point, which might not happen, but it could. And so I've had a rough plan in place to spin up a forum website to replace Discord as an emergency escape hatch button, escape boat, life raft button thing for years. But I've started thinking, with everybody asking for forums, maybe we just build that now and we let the people who really want forums have forums. And then we also don't have to spin the thing up from scratch if Discord goes down. That would be a great project to do during the hiatus, and we're not going to have another great opportunity to do it for possibly 12 to 24 months after the 11th season starts. I'm going to open the floor to discussion. Kindlelist says, I could see utility in having a parallel framework, generally gradually moving some topics over as needed. I see Moon Roses is typing. Tommy, do you have any experience working with PHP forum-based bulletin boards or anything like that?
Besides like being a user on forums.
Okay, but you've been a user on forums before.
Yes.
Like when I got started on the internet, Game FAQs was the big gaming forum. And that was where I spent a lot of my time online in middle school. Moon Rosa says, I would want to link to the off Discord forum created in a read-only news channel so there's a ready way to get to said forums. I mean, we would basically, yeah, the plan would be to set up those forums and then slowly migrate stuff off the Discord that people felt like didn't go on the Discord. Because there are certain things that some people are very passionate about having here, but other people are like, I don't see the value of having 10 current events channels. And personally, I do. I do see the value of having those channels, but they don't have to be Discord channels. They could be on a separate forum that we host. Yeah. Channels like Identity and Feels, Kindle suggests, should also probably be moved because it would be safer to have sensitive information about personal topics discussed in a place where Discord doesn't have access to the data. I agree. I don't know that I don't want those would not be in the first wave because I would want to make sure that whatever migration we do is smooth and like those channels are used by a lot more people here than just the tech or the news ones. But yeah, those are the ones that if Facebook bought Discord, I would be the most worried about. Those are the ones if if OpenAI buys Discord, those are the ones I'm most worried about. If Palantir buys Discord, those are the ones I'm most worried about, right? So yeah, long term, we would want to identify which things are most sensitive. But yeah, we would probably keep stuff that was more image focused over here because one thing that Discord does right now is they absorb all the liability of image hosting. I would not be able to allow people to upload images to the forum. There might be ways for people to embed images they hosted elsewhere on like a list of approved sites or something. We'd have to figure out what that looks like. But initially, the forums would be more text focused. And so like moving all the spam things you made stuff over there would not be great because a lot of those are all photos. That's um, you know, so yeah, that if people what do people think about me generally saying some of the web design and development time, some of the programming streams I do in the hiatus would be forum creation and spin up streams. So y'all would also get to be a part of my design process for this. Um, I have actually built like internal forum software for major organizations in the past that like thousands of people used. And so this is not me just being like, oh, I'm sure I could figure this out. This is, oh, I literally was paid to do this as part of my job for years. I could spin up a forum that would support hundreds of users very easily. We would be using off-the-shelf software as a base, and then I would be extending it or modifying it to meet our specific needs. Kindle says forum creation and spin-up streams would be very educational. Okay. Lakshmi13 says, programming, don't people often share screenshots? Well, a lot of times you would share code blocks more than screenshots, or you could link to your like a snippet via GitHub or something. Kindle says those streams could make transition to using the forum a smoother process. The biggest thing about this is we're gonna have to send everybody via Patreon an invite to the new forum at some point. That's gonna be its own whole thing. For new Patreon members, obviously I'm sending them a link to the Discord already. But we do have a back catalog here. Not back catalog, backlog? I don't know. We've got hundreds of active users here and inactive users. We have a lot of people paying to be part of this community. And so that is, I think, the trickiest part of this is going to be me going through and actually manually sending out all those Patreon invites. I was looking at trying to do something through the Patreon API, and it would be way more time and way more hassle than just hand sending out. I could knock out sending out a few hundred of these invites in an afternoon, which is a great use of the hiatus as well, and not something great for after the 11th season launches. Kindle says, I think putting in a Patreon post would be the easiest way to send the invite for everyone. Well, no, Kindle is, we want to send individualized invites. Is my point. That's where they get you. Because we want to be able to track like a link between the user and the Patreon account. And so if everybody has a different invite code, then I can tell when they register that it corresponds to the specific Patreon account. So that's going to be an afternoon. But it's not hard, it's just time consuming. But it's exactly the sort of thing that, like, if we do that work now, then if Discord goes down the first week of season 11, I'm not panicking because I need to edit my videos and deal with this catastrophe at the same time, right? We're already slightly ahead of it. At that point, yeah, everybody gets an invite to create their forum profile from their forum code. From the invite code. And this also keeps out the AI and the spam bots and all that. Like, we don't have to worry about all that. Okay. So that is a project that I am looking at, and depending on the progress, I would say we'll move over those tech and news categories sometime during the next quarter, assuming that the forum software works and that we're happy with it. And if we're not happy with it long term, maybe we move them back to the Discord. We'll make that decision at a future quarterly meeting like this one. Anybody see any major flaws with this plan? Giving Moonroses a chance to type there. Tommy, anything that you're thinking?
The only thing I'm thinking of is this wasn't exactly something we planned on the agenda, so there's going to be people who aren't in attendance of this meeting wondering where did this come from.
Wasn't forums on the agenda?
Was it?
Let me check. I genuinely thought forums was on the agenda. I apologize if not. Oh, it wasn't. Well, I screwed that up. That is a valid concern, Tommy. That is a valid concern.
I'm in favor of this idea. I think it's a good idea. I just don't want people to be confused as to where it came from. Like, I don't think this is something we should set in motion immediately without making it something that we've discussed with more of the community.
Yeah, I guess the problem is if we don't do it during the hiatus, we can't do it. And I will say there was discussion in feedback channels. It just didn't make the agenda. Yeah. Yeah, I think what happened was I intended to add it to the agenda after the hiatus was announced, and I just got lost in the shuffle. But I thought I had it in there, and I've screwed up.
Is this something
So,
you could make a Patreon post about?
it is, and I would specifically say it's the sort of thing that I will post about at the beginning of the hiatus,
Yeah.
because it's going to be, so the idea is that we want to highlight that we're going to be doing these programming streams to develop my website and this forum software, and um, say something along the lines of, if you want to be fast tracked for early access, send me a Patreon and send me a Patreon message. So that's the reason I don't want to post it right now,
Mm-hmm.
is because once I'm at the point where I can start sending people like beta access to the, you know, rough deployment, um, we'd want to get people logging in and testing stuff out before we go and send everybody else their invites.
Right.
Um, so yeah. So that's a good note, yeah. Okay. Do we have anything else? Could I also put in the announcement channel that's the thing you're doing? Well, I mean, when we're ready to start doing the streams, I'm going to be announcing those streams, because those streams are going to be Discord only and YouTube channel member only. As Lakshmi 13 pointed out, we definitely want to let people know that those are happening in advance, because they're paid member benefit thing, right? Um, so yeah. So yeah, we'll be announcing these streams, and then during the streams we'll be talking about it, and then people who are on the Patreon can get instructions during the streams to get into the beta to help test. So that's the thing too, is it's not like we're turning this on overnight. We're gonna start building this October 1st, and it might not even, like, basically the goal will be to get it completely up and running, but before the end of the hiatus. But I've also got like a third of October I'm spending on my kids' fall break, and I'm not sure, that might be very productive programming time if I wake up before everybody else and my brain is just active, or it might be I'm just completely brain dead. So realistically, this might be done by or ready to go live the end of October. This might be the sort of thing though that drags into November. Um okay. So yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be completely shocked by this, because we're not removing those categories today. We're not removing current events and technology today. But yeah, those would be the bleeding edge of testing the new forums. Is that would be what we migrate first. So yeah, and that'll be at least a month, possibly 2 months from now, is my estimate. Um, okay. So, does anybody have anything else on the current agenda item before we move on? Fally, we're talking about moving current events and the technology categories entirely off Discord to a self-hosted server system, with the idea being that we will have a long-term alternative to Discord already spun up and ready if Discord gets bought by OpenAI and shuts down or something. So this alleviates some of the confusion around having this many channels here and moves things that might be better suited to a forum into a forum. As somebody who constructed forums for corporate clients in the past as part of my day job, I cannot accept the amount of control Discord gives me over their built-in forum functionality. I need something that I can modify myself. So, okay. Next agenda item is the merch store. Okay, so seems like the Hermitcraft merch store has been generally successful. People seem to like what they're getting. I don't know that I have a lot to add right now to that. So this agenda item is just we've had a lot of like little feedback and feedback revenue, but most of it doesn't affect this community directly. It's just like, hey, can you make sure that artists are credited on the pages, which we did. Since then, thank you. I think Aviva asked about that. So we've had a lot of feedback about the merch store, but none of it seems like it's huge new business for the folks here. Long term, spinning up my own merch store, we are looking at the data that comes in from the Hermitcraft merch store as Badger and I try to figure out what we want to do ourselves. We don't have good data yet on the Hermitcraft merch store about certain items. We are very strongly inclined to make our first two capital purchases towards spinning up a merch store, a embroidery machine and a laser etcher. However, we also kind of need to see how revenue goes over the hiatus before we spend money. So we're kind of in this weird place where it's like, if we want to have stuff to people by Christmas, we need to go buy an embroidery machine now. Will there eventually be Joe specific merch on the Hermitcraft store? I would be spinning up my own store. Lakshmi says, we love everything we've bought. You said in a stream, but can you confirm that people don't need to rush to buy things in the Hermitcraft store? When things are sold out, successful products will be reordered. That is the plan. This is intended to be a long-term store, not a merch drop. Micro says, I was talking about Discord forum channels as a now solution. Forums are searchable, and you can tag posts with preset tags and filter by the tags. That feels like I don't want to mess with Discord forums. It will make me angry, and I really need to be focused on Hermitcraft Season 10 right now. Like I said, having built forum software from scratch for clients that had thousands of users using them internally, I just don't want to deal with Discord's garbage. It will completely wreck the creative part of my brain. And if we were in the middle of the season, I'd be more willing to roll the dice on this, but like I have to end this season strong. We need to be really strong going into the hiatus. And I'm not going to screw around with something that I know is just going to stress me out. And like stress impacts my health because my digestive stuff. Like I am not prepared to take that kind of hit on the chance that there's a marginal improvement to the Discord from switching it to forums a month and a half before we're about to move it to something else anyway. It just doesn't seem like a good use of my time. There's no reason to reshuffle this when we're trying to get a different forum solution out the door in the next month and a half, 2 months. So yeah, we're not considering that as a now solution. Also, we have moved on. We are on merch store stuff. Okay. So anyway, we're going to see how the last few weeks of September go. Part of what's killing me on this merch store launch too is I've got a bunch of things I did work on where like when they go live, I'm supposed to get like a percentage of the take, but they keep getting delayed and that makes it hard for me to get a percentage of any take when there is no take. So the merch store might launch in the next few months. It might be further out. I just can't know right now. But like there's some really cool stuff that I got to work on that should have gone out 3 months ago, and it is actively driving me crazy. I was hoping I could come to you guys today and be like, I had good news at the last meeting. I did not have good news at the last meeting. We're still waiting. Yay. Okay. So that's where we are on the merch store stuff. Um, Tommy, is there anything that you've seen that we need to discuss on the merch in terms of sentiment or concern?
No, but Moonrose is typing, so I just want to give her a moment before we move on.
Yeah. We don't have a hard stop time for this meeting, but we have been going for an hour and 40 minutes. Okay, so let's keep moving. Server migration to Apple Silicon. That is still underway. I ran into some problems with getting the server to restart after a power outage, and I don't want to make that move until I get that sorted. That is just a question of sitting down with it and troubleshooting for a few hours, probably. But once again, now that we have a set date for the end of the season, a few hours, I might just punt that to October. Uh, because like you know, definitely want to have that ready for the new season's server. What we might end up doing too is possibly running the modded server on there temporarily. I don't know. I'm going to talk to Toxic. But yeah, the Apple Silicon thing, it's a very good idea. It's a very good idea. All the testing is great, but just there's a little bit of undiscovered country around it where most people aren't running their Minecraft servers this way, and the people that aren't necessarily publishing their techniques. So I'm going back to first principles and trying to figure out why stuff isn't working, which is within my skill set, but is time consuming. So it's just, I want to save the money that we're spending monthly on running these servers, but having missed getting it done by the end of August, um, I'm not sure if it's going to get done before the end of September, because September is going to be busy. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted about the server migration stuff. But yeah, like I said, if we can't have the server auto restart after a power outage, which in theory should almost never happen because it's hooked up to a UPS, but like if it did happen, I want it to start back up. Especially too because if we're going to be rack mounting these in a cage somewhere downtown or something, it needs to restart on its own. I can't be driving to a data center to go power up the server or paying somebody a $50, I forget what they call them. They keep rebranding it. It's like Phantom Hands or something. But yeah, where you can basically pay somebody who works at the data center to go unlock your cage and press a button. I don't want to do that. So okay. Yeah, let the ghosts restart your servers. Ooh. Okay. So but yeah, all the general Apple Silicon stuff was good. Let's keep moving. Next generation Vanillish server. I really want people to um, start posting. We've got hashtag feedback Vanillish SMP, right? If you are looking for a cozy uh, if you're looking for a cozy palling around server that's gonna have prox chat, we're gonna have the voice prox chat on Vanillish next season. The rough plan is Vanillish is gonna have the whatever version of Minecraft Hermitcraft is running, and it's gonna update when Hermitcraft does. We're gonna have the same quality of life packs, same seed as Hermitcraft. It's gonna be most similar to the Hermitcraft experience. I think this is what a lot of people want, and we're doing it. Okay? Um, Yurgi is very laissez-faire about things. For those of you who don't speak French, that means do what you want. Um, Superstone says if you want people to join it, don't start at the same time as the flagship. Well, the thing is, I can't release the seed for Hermitcraft. So we've tried not doing the same seed as Hermitcraft before on Vanillish, and nobody liked it. Everybody wants to play the Hermitcraft seed. Can we have a meeting with Yurgi to discuss it? Yes, but we can't do that on a weekend because Yurgi works weekends. But the reason I'm saying this now is I feel like a lot of things that people are going to want for the Bleeding Edge server are the plan for Vanillish. And so I feel like people who want prox chat, people who want quality of life stuff, people who want the Hermitcraft seed, I think Vanillish is going to be very competitive with the other server if they launch at the same time. Because a lot of the feedback I've seen about 10th Orward is basically requests for what we're already planning on Vanillish. And they're going to have a very different flavor to them, such that I feel like it will be the obvious choice for a lot of people that they want to play on Vanillish. Is there a TLDR for the differences between the flagship and Vanillish? Not yet. But okay, so for example, Vanillish is going to have the same spawn location as Hermitcraft. Is Vanillish keep inventory? That is up for debate, but hold on. So let me answer Fally's question first. Is there a TLDR for differences between flagship and vanilla? Vanillish. Flagship. Boy. Uh, Seed. HC 11th. Launch date. HC 11th. Launch events. Different dates. Because I am going to be busy with the Hermitcraft launch, I will not be able to run a event on that day. If there's an early launch, if there's a first week launch event, my launch event will be on a different day than Yurgi's. Yurgi's will definitely be on a weekday because Yurgi works weekends. And mine, I don't know, but it'll depend. Spawn location. Okay. Weekday. Any day. This is a terrible chart. Spawn location. Same as HC 11th and randomized. Prox voice. For Vanillish, yes. For the flagship, maybe. It depends on the bleeding edge thing. Prox voice will constantly get disabled from the bleeding edge thing. Data packs close to HC10 or close to HC11 and depends on in-game events. Okay. So oh yeah, let's see what else is going to be different. Weather normal versus constant thunderstorm. until in-game events. So basically, the Elevenstorm server is going to be a merge of the Bleeding Edge flagship experience and the Everstorm experience. And there will be certain challenges that players will have to accomplish during in-game events to restore some balance to the elements. So for at least the first 3 months, probably, it will be nonstop thunderstorm on the flagship server. For at least the first 3 months, the spawn location will change. The world spawn location will change every 6 hours. This is going, when people are like, how are you going to get people to play on the Vanillish server? The Vanillish server is going to be significantly closer to the Hermitcraft experience that y'all want. And the Elevenstorm server is not. The Elevenstorm server is going to be about restoring balance. And I've got some interesting ideas for ways that people will do that through build contests we're going to host. No permadeath. No permadeath. That is the biggest difference between the Elevenstorm and the Everstorm server. Like I said, it's kind of a merger of the two. So Bleeding Edge jars, constant thunderstorm, randomized world spawn, and a few other curveballs. So world spawn will initially start off as random, and after our first major build competition, our first 3-month build competition, the world spawns will still cycle, but instead of every 6 hours to a random spot, they will cycle every month to one of the outposts or parade host cities. So basically, every single city will get to be world spawn eventually. So Gritmonger saying 0 point to build anything to welcome users when world spawn is random. Yes, during that first 3 months, you can't build anything to welcome new users. But once we do our 3-month build contest with rules to be announced, then the cities will be the world spawn location. And it'll cycle through, so everybody gets to host world spawn for about a month, or however, depending on how many cities are. Kindle says, what if I make a parade area, people will show up there? What if I do Skyblock again? They won't like that. I mean, here's the thing, Kindleus, is you should make your world spawn hub or whatever. Like, you will get to designate which part of your area. You will get to designate which part of your area is the world spawn welcome area. So just put it on the perimeter of your giant hole, right? Have another portal and train tracks or whatever. Superstone says this will definitely push me to Vanillish for major building. That's okay. The Vanillish server should have a draw to it. Yeah, the Elevenstorm server, the Bleeding Edge server, might not be the most like it's hard. We're playing on hard mode. You know what I mean? Now, here's the other thing though too, is part of the reason to randomize world spawn. We should stop calling it the flagship. Yeah, I mean, we should probably start calling it the Bleeding Edge server. Yeah, the Elevenstorm server is what the Blood server. But here's part of the reason to have the randomized world spawn for the first 3 months is also so that people who join a month in don't immediately log in and they're like, "Oh, everything's done for me." You might you're going to show up in the wilderness. MG Alpaca says Joe's own server being the flagship, being called the flagship, still makes sense. It's the one with his flag. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But core concept, I was expecting like 3 seasons ago Vanillish to be the one that everybody played on, because Vanillish has all the things that people keep requesting. Um, and I realize, like, I don't know, like I should be doing more to make playing on the Bleeding Edge server an experience, and I feel like this Elevenstorm thing, I've gotten certain game rules and stuff. For example, like fire spread and things like that are going to start off as on. And a lot of the things that people would normally ask for during petitions, I'm going to gamify with in-game milestones that the players have to work together to complete. So if people want fire spread off, well, that's fine, but we're not just going to have a petitions where you guys ask nicely. There will be some sort of challenge, and it might be like, well, if you guys want this rule change, you need to do a this build contest or something. Aviva says the problem with this is Vanillish would be in a different cycle, and people would already be settled. No, Vanillish is going to launch the same day. Vanillish is going to launch the same day. Vanillish has not received the same attention from you, and therefore has been presented as a secondary option. I think that my attention shouldn't be what people decide based on. I don't know. Like, they should play what they want to play. Like, yeah. The big problem with having Yurgi host events is that Yurgi works weekends. And so part of what we've tried to do was have weekday events, which is also good for other people who work weekends, but it just seems like they never got the same traction. And I don't know what to do about that. Like, if I was successful enough, if you asked me 5 years ago, I'd say, well, I'll be able to hire Yurgi full time by now, and I'm not there. And that point, Yurgi could work weekends doing this for us, but I'm not there. So, like, I'm sorry. Uh, Aviva says, Joe, people are on your Patreon for you. Well, I would like for them to be on my Patreon because they want to support my art, not because they require my attention to feel good. Right? Like that's a different thing. If I want people to be able to have fun playing a video game whether I'm looking at them or not. That feels like we're getting into, like, I don't know, I'm vaguely uncomfortable about, I don't know. Yeah, it gets weird. Moonrose says, I worry with gamifying the Elevenstorm, there'd be too much reliance on Joe being around to implement the rewards for keeping the server in balance. Well, that's why I've had years to look at what does and doesn't work in terms of my time and things like that. And um realistically, if these Elevenstorm events were once a month, we can make them work. That's the thing. Like, the Bahala stuff was so frequent that I felt overloaded on it, and I ended up just not being able to do it. But yeah, basically, if instead of petitions, we had some sort of monthly challenge or whatever, would Everstorm be ending? Temporarily, yes. Temporarily, there will be no Everstorm server between now and when this launches. Partially because I need to be doing a bunch of moving stuff around between server hardware anyway, and I need the Everstorm was always kind of running on buffer capacity. So if I'm moving stuff around, I need that buffer space to work with. So the idea is, yeah, I didn't expect Bahala to be as much of a time sink as it was. The idea is that the Everstorm will eventually be banished, hopefully about 3 months in to the Bleeding Edge server. Folks will drive away the storm, and the storm will find a new home on a new server. So we're gonna have a few month break from Everstorm, um, while I do a bunch of hardware reshuffling and stuff over the hiatus, and also I'm starting some of that in September too. It's like with this Apple Silicon thing, we're moving stuff around. So yeah, temporarily no Everstorm until that is unlocked by the people on the Bleeding Edge server. MJ says, to be honest, I think there are enough people here saying they would prefer to play Vanillish if other people also played Vanillish. It could be an active server. I think so. I think so. And there's going to be nothing stopping people who don't want to build parade routes initially from coming back. If you don't want to be there for the first 3 months on the Bleeding Edge server with all the chaos, that's okay. It's a different speed of game. But then when we have parade float build contests, everybody's welcome to hop from server to server. Would the parades be on this Elevenstorm or Vanillish? They would be on the Elevenstorm because the parade route builds would be linked to unlocking things. It's up to Yurgi to decide what kind of events to host on Vanillish. Kindle suggests maybe you should be a judge for those events. I'm happy to be a judge for those events. If Yurgi wants to host events on Vanillish, I will judge when I can. But I don't have the... It's not my purview to organize events on Vanillish or on the modded server. That's up to their server operators. Sent says, I think the events are the big draw for the flagship since you stream those. I mean, that's fair. In terms of where we are in the agenda, real quick, let me look at. So we're currently, the agenda item we're technically on right now is next generation Vanillish server. And we're kind of talking about that in relation to the final agenda item of next generation flagship server. So we're kind of hitting both of those right now. But yeah. Lakshmi13 says, what if Yurgi was about to invite you to tours of Vanillish? Yeah, that's fine. We can do that. It's just once again, it's a matter of, scheduling, and there's been so little interest in Vanillish in the past that the events we did try to organize kind of kept falling apart due to low attendance. So like the only thing stopping me from doing events on Vanillish or attending events on Vanillish is attendance. So we've got a chicken egg problem here. If a bunch of people, it seems like a lot of the... I'm happy to visit Vanillish. We just need people playing on it. It's a chicken egg thing. And so I feel like if we launch both these servers at the same time, and the other nice thing about launching these both at the same time is that splits the player load in terms of performance. So when people are running around exploring new chunks and doing stuff, we've got 2 separate servers running that have good performance. We've got if we pre-announced events for both servers for the first 3 months of both servers, would that reassure you guys? Would that help you guys just like... Okay, I'll talk to Yurgi, because I'm not here to announce events for Yurgi. Can chunks be preloaded for Vanillish? Yes. Maybe start with a world border that's small and expand it later. That's going to be a Yurgi decision. I'm not going to, yeah. Please leave the feedback for Yurgi to read in the feedback Vanillish SMP. Once again, Yurgi cannot attend this meeting because it conflicts with Yurgi's work schedule, but requests like that can go in there. Can I pin the message with differences for easier access? That's a really rough sketch. I mean, I'd rather write up something good before I pin it. That's just me jamming something down for the like. This is the wrong channel to pin it in anyway, right? Like, yeah. So what I need to do, it sounds like, is I will come back. Yeah, fine. If you want to put it in the meeting minutes, that's fine. But there's no sense pinning it in this channel. This is not the channel for it to be referenced later. It sounds like what I need to do is I need to talk to Yurgi, and we need to get some sort of announcement about the events that we each have planned for the first 3 months of our thing. We can't be too specific about stuff until October 17th when the launch date is going to be announced. So basically, we're gonna. You know what I would say is, Tommy, write this down for the minutes. Joe is going to have a call with Yurgi, and we will announce plans for the Vanillish and the Elevenstorm servers with a timeline of events after the Hermitcraft TwitchCon panel on October 17th. Because October 17th, we'll have the launch date for Hermitcraft 11. And then if Yurgi and I want to include certain themed events around holidays or things like that, it's not going to be a spoiler. We can't really go into detail about certain things without kind of betraying some of the Hermitcraft calendar. So that is going to be the plan there. In the shorter term, I think it's time that we all move on to the next generation modded server. So does anybody have any last minute stuff about Vanillish before we move on to modded? I'm going to let Moonshell finish typing. When will decisions around keep inventory be made? That's a Yurgi question, but they don't have to be made until launch. If Yurgi decides the day of launch to change their mind about keep inventory, it's Yurgi's server. I'm not. That's not the sort like. That's not the sort of decision that I will make for Yurgi. Like, it would be helpful if that decision was made before the 17th, but that's. I will say for my server, I've already decided keep inventory will be off. But, yeah. Okay, still waiting for Moonshell to finish typing. Okay, it looks like. Boom, 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 boom. At a certain point, we have to move on. Okay. Next generation modded server. Here's the rough plan for that. Next generation modded server is going to launch at the very beginning of October. so that I can play on it during the hiatus. The plan is that Toxic is going to pick a create-based mod pack, and we're going to have some sort of haunted house friendly competition to build haunted houses throughout the month of October. And then we'll do some sort of stream event. Will the modded server be Fabric? I don't know. That's up to Toxic. It'll be a create server. I know that. Some sort of create mod pack. So the requirements that I gave Toxic was I said, Toxic, what I want is something that's a short-term server that's going to be off the shelf so that people can just download a mod pack and can launch October 1st. What do you got? So Toxic came back and suggested a couple different create-based mod packs, which I have. If I go to, where is it? Feedback next modded server. Toxic specifically suggested we consider Homestead or Create Plus. These are both create-based mod packs. And we have solicited feedback from people about it. If you have feedback, go to feedback next modded server and let Toxic know. The decisions for that need to be made relatively quickly, so that we can launch on October 1st. But yeah, the goal is to let people who are, we're getting a lot of people coming in at the $10 a month level right now because they want to be on the Patreon monument. $10 a month on the Patreon gets you on the Patreon monument at the end of the season, right? So for all the people who are coming in this month, we wanted to have something fresh launch right as the hiatus starts. So then people aren't just sitting around waiting for 10th Orward and Vanillish to restart. So, and by encouraging people to do something, honestly, you can make whatever you want, but the idea is anybody who makes a haunted house, we're going to come around at the, around October 31st and do some sort of, let's stop by the haunted houses and see what people made and experience them. So Badger and I can play together on this server and stream together, building our own haunted house. So we're looking forward to that. Moonshell says, I'm not able to join the meeting, but if weather constant means constant thunderstorm, I could. Well, we've already moved on from that topic. Sorry, Moonshell. Okay, we're on the modded server right now. So yeah, for the modded server, if you guys have feedback about that, please get that to Toxic via the Feedback Next modded server channel. Kindle says both of the ones that Toxic suggested are Fabric. Okay, good to know. That was not something that I required either way. So, yeah. Basically, I just said, Toxic, it's your server. Here's what would be good for me is if we could restart it on this date, and if we could maybe do some sort of haunted house build thing. But that's like, I'm not saying like it even has to be a judged event. It could just be a trick or treat. Hey, at the end of October, we go visit each of the haunted houses. So laid back, everybody gets to build a haunted house. You're not in competition. If Toxic wants to make it a competition, that's fine too. But like, I just want to build a haunted house, and I think it would be fun if other people did too. So, yeah. That is where we are at on the modded server. Does anybody else have anything about the modded server before we move on to our final agenda item? Okay, it looks like nobody has any additional feedback on the modded server. Tommy, did you have any concerns about the modded server that you want to bring up before we move on?
No concerns.
Okay. So, the Elevenstorm server is our final agenda item. As we've already covered some of this in the Vanillish thing, just to establish the contrast, that Vanillish is intended to be more of the traditional Hermitcraft experience. The Elevenstorm server has a lot of ideas in it that are along the lines of things that have been suggested in the past for Hermitcraft, but haven't necessarily happened or happened differently or things like that. So this is almost a Hermitcraft what if server. So I think it's going to be interesting. The initial launch of the server, can we get a dedicated channel for Elevenstorm feedback? Yes. That is exactly the sort of thing. Yeah, because we've already got feedback. Vanillish. So yeah, new channel here, although I might have to delete one. Feedback. Elevenstorm. Create channel. And temp post. Okay. Now the okay. So the Elevenstorm channel, or nope, Moon Roses. It's Elevenstorm. This is one of the reasons I want an embroidery machine, is because I have an idea for a mission patch for the Elevenstorm server, and I want it to happen. Okay. So the Elevenstorm server is a bleeding edge update server that will initially launch with a perpetual thunderstorm, fire tick on, its world spawn location randomized daily, a disabled nether, and other chaos. The initial build contest will encourage players to build outposts together to restore balance to the server, which will end the storm, reopen the nether. Players will work to construct pairs of outposts with opposite-ish themes along parallel main roads to restore balance to the server when the moment of judgment arrives. So I'm going to change that to during that contest. Now, I will say, when I originally came up with the Elevenstorm server, I was just like, it's a shame. It's a shame that we're going with more of a Tempest thing than a Star Trek thing. And I had the tagline written, "Hell is closed, and all the Devil Levens are here." But I think maybe the tagline for the mission patch should be "Live long and prospero." So, Kindle says locked nether means no observers or comparatives for farms. It is intended to be a challenge server for the first 3 months. There's going to be a thing. Moon Roses says parallel main roads, making an 11, I assume. Yes. So, one of the big differences in this is the outposts are not going to be required to be far away from each other. In fact, they're going to be required to be balanced against each other. We're going to have pairs of outposts. MJ says you can grab a few comparators from ancient cities. Yep. So, once again, this is the sort of thing, too, where I could imagine when people are like, how are you going to get people to join Vanillish day one if this is open at the same time? Well, this is partially open day one, but you're not gonna have access to everything all at once. You're not gonna have access to the nether materials easily, things like that. And for some people, they might say, you know what, I'm gonna pass. And that's okay, because I genuinely want Vanillish to be a viable parallel server here. So that is where we are at as the rough pitch for the Elevenstorm server. We've already talked about it kind of at length, but one of the big things that I want to make sure is clear to people is that this is going to be uh, kind of a more of a game mastered experience, less of a demiurge you pray to, and more of a we already know by now what people want to unlock, so we're gonna gamify unlocking it type of experience. Very with a little task mastering. That's a great way to put it, Moon Roses. That's a great way to put it. Um So there might be Taskmaster style events as well. I've been using build contests as my go-to, but yeah, there's going to be more events kind of throughout here, and the actually like ending the storm and opening the nether are going to be tied to the 3-month build contest for the initial outposts, but other things like fire tick and whatnot are going to be unlocked possibly earlier. Once again, I need to get you guys a real calendar with actual things after October 17th. I can't announce a timeline until TwitchCon, but for example, disabling fire tick or activating certain quality of life data packs, like enabling armor stands mod might be a first month. We have a game day taskmaster challenge thing, and if enough people compete and succeed at their tasks, which I expect you guys to do unless I'm really bad at designing games. It is possible I might be so bad at designing these games that you guys are going to fail, and those things might be postponed to a different unlock event. Tension. So, okay. So if y'all have specific types of challenges and games you would like me to run, um, so you know what? I'm gonna do a quick thing here. While the Storm and Nether unlock, I'm gonna take what I just wrote or said are on the parade host time build contest timeline. Blah. Smaller unlocks like quality of life data packs and game rule tweaks will be achieved by players competing in monthly server events. Starting the first week of the server. Exact timeline or more precise timeline to be announced on October 17th after the TwitchCon panel. Please let me know what kinds of games or challenges you might enjoy. Current candidates include Taskmaster style games, surprise theme build. Well, I'm not gonna say surprise because themed build contests. And more question mark? So yeah, I'm going to pin both of these messages here. But yeah, so the purpose of this feedback channel right now is to see what kind of things y'all might want to see unlocked with what kind of challenges or games. Moonroses, yeah. So these challenges would be we're not talking about the channels right now anyway, Kindleless. So yeah, we've moved on in the agenda. So these challenges would be set forth with me present. Like I would be logging onto the server and streaming the event. Would be the idea. And so for a Taskmaster style thing, you know, it would be judged differently than a build contest, but it would still be just me judging for these smaller events. Maybe Badger popping on, depending. So yeah, it'd be less formal than the parade route build contests, and more like, I'm trying to think of an example that's not linked to a specific holiday, because I don't want to mislead you about the timeline for the server. But like, you know, they would be something. They would be like everybody build a food truck type of thing. That's not exactly that, but like, okay, you know, if we, if X number of people can build food trucks in this amount of time, it will unlock this quality of life data pack related to food. It would be themed around the game rules and the thing kind of loosely. Like, so turning fire tick off might have something fire related or tick related. Make the best blood sucking insect. I don't know. That sort of thing. Okay. So we have been going for 2.5 hours. Does anybody else have anything further for our final agenda item? Tommy, if there's anything you think I've missed, now would be a great time to nudge me in that direction.
No, I think you've covered it.
Okay. Last call for people in the chat. Once again, though, because we are not making decisions about the flagship today, you can leave that feedback and I will get to it. And we will have a more formal launch announcement. We'll have season launch announcements for Vanillish and Elevenstorm ready to go after the TwitchCon panel. Can I schedule an event to discuss flagship and Vanillish closer to launch? I don't know that we need that. I see what you're saying, but September is pretty slammed for me with the end of the season stuff. And the TwitchCon panel is in the middle of when I'm going to be taking my kid to visit family. Yeah, I think having a Yurgi call that's comparable to this one would be valuable, but I don't know that you need another Joe call, especially because also, like, here's what I'm going to say, is depending on the feedback I see in the Feedback Elevenstorm channel, I can schedule a call if I feel like I need one, but I feel like this was that call. Since Yurgi was not able to be here today because of work schedule, I will talk to Yurgi about getting a call about Vanillish scheduled. I'm open to it if needed. I just can't imagine the need. But maybe it will become apparent. Lady Oolong says, will the end also be unlockable? We'll have to see. We'll have, like I said, we'll have more details about the challenges and things like that. Kindle says you need blaze powder to unlock the end. Well, there might be ways to get blaze powder. I mean, they're always adding new things to Minecraft. Wandering traders? Do wandering traders trade blaze rods? Ooh. They do not. Interesting. Ah, well. core concept. We don't know yet when the next Minecraft update is out also. So there might be stuff we're going to find out about that and about the Hermitcraft launch schedule that will there might be more stuff to talk about. If there's more stuff to talk about, we'll figure it out. Okay. All right. Aviva says that's a core part of the game. They're never going to change having to go to the nether before the end. At the same time, they make mistakes all the time when updates come out. It wouldn't surprise me if they screwed up and somehow in the next update there was a way to get blaze rods without going to the nether. So Superstone says you can find Eyes of Ender in strongholds, and you can find strongholds using chunk base. Yeah. So I mean that's also possible. But yeah, I was planning, yeah. You can also just get lucky wandering around. But also, you're going to see in our videos where the strongholds are. And it's the same seed on Vanillish and Elevenstorm. So you'd be able to find them, like, without using chunk base, just by going to the Vanillish server and going to the nether and killing blazes. So, you know, there's that. Okay. So I think we have concluded the entire agenda. We are 2.5 hours in. Thank you all so much for your patience. Hope everybody's satisfied with all this. If you're not, or if you have additional questions or whatever, please leave your concerns in the appropriate feedback channels. And we will get back to y'all at our next quarterly new business meeting. In terms of scheduling that next quarterly new business meeting, we will also be scheduling that after October 17th. Nothing, we don't want to, whether or not that meeting is at the end of this year or the beginning of next year is going to depend on the Hermitcraft launch date. And until the Hermitcraft launch date is announced, I don't want to assume it's set in stone. So I am going to avoid scheduling this next public meeting until the Hermitcraft launch date is announced. Alrighty, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate you taking the minutes. Where can people find those? Can you put those in the announcements or on the website, or actually both?
Yes, I can do that.
After this. And if you're not rushing off, like you don't have like opera tickets or anything, is that something you can do this afternoon, you think?
Yes, I can do that.
Cool. Yeah, so just stay clocked in and post that to the website and the announcements whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Really appreciate you. Thank you all so much for showing up and for your feedback. Keep adventuring.